Welcome back, everybody, to another California-only fantasy challenge franchise thing. Again, I really do not have a good name for it, but yeah, we are in the technically we're in the postseason, kind of the end of the regular season. We will be going through the full off-season, but we're starting in Week 18 because there are a few deals I want to go ahead and try to get started on before we get to the final offers that we can make. So, need to do a couple of them. The first one we're going to do is Lewis Marshall. He's been our slot corner and is really the best corner that we have for this spot currently. At least the third best corner on our roster. And I believe we have most, if not every, available California corner on our team. So we'll offer him a pretty decent contract because he's so far the only one that we have available at this point. So we'll offer a 4-year 9.2, which is a good deal, especially for him. And he would like the same about the salary. So he wants a little bit more in terms of salary, so we could work on that when we get to the closed free agency. Ty Montgomery will wait for the closed free agency. Same for Carter and Hanson. Also for Riley. Nate Gordon we will offer a contract for, as he is a undrafted. I think it was undrafted. Yeah, he would be an undrafted rookie. So we'll offer him a sizable deal here. Give him a little bit of incentive. So we'll do a 3-year 2.3, and he will stay. Just trying to keep as many of the young guys on the team as possible. Simi Fehoko is our starting slot receiver and has played very well for us up to this point. So we'll give him a solid deal as well. Be a 5-year 16.4. It is cheap, but he's not extremely highly rated. And it says it's perfect, so it's perfect for me too. Darren Hall is another guy that we definitely want to keep around. He is young, has a lot of room to grow for sure. But we'll try to keep him around, and we'll bump the contract up a little bit as, it's still pretty cheap. 5 years, 10.7 mil, which is still fairly cheap in terms of NFL contracts, and that's exactly what he was wanting. So, have all of those done. Like I said, most of the rest of the guys that are still there we'll address when it comes to the closed free agency. I said no to Richard Sherman, Everson Griffin, and Tyson Alualu, as I expect they will retire. They might not. I know in the Vikings series we have, actually don't know if we're to that point yet, but there is a player I expected to retire because they are very high up in age, around their age, who's still playing, so they might not retire, but I expect them to. And now I've simmed ahead a bit to the Pro Bowl week, just so we could take a look to see if we happen to have anyone in there, and you could see who we do have in Pro Bowl. So quarterbacks, we got Burrow, Prescott, Tannehill, and Tua. And also Brady and Mahomes. Surprisingly, probably the best quarterbacks there are the third string ones, with Tua being second string for the AFC, which is interesting. Running backs, we have Mixon, Montgomery, not our Montgomery, Harris, Juszczyk, fullback, and Stanton at fullback for the AFC. We have Chubb, Fournette, Gordon, Malachi. I think that's Malachi. Maybe. And Blasting Game for the AFC running backs and fullbacks. For receivers, we have for the NFC, Samuel, Diggs, Thielen, teammates again, Johnson, Parker, and Crowder. For the AFC, we have Chase, Smith, Renfro, Kirk, Beckham Jr., and Hardman. Pretty much about what you would expect. Crowder, a little bit of a shock, though, at 77 overall. Tight ends for the NFC, we have Knox, Trimble, and Gesicki, all really good. AFC, Gronkowski, Goddard, and Andrews, again, all really good tight ends. For the line, we have Bakhtiari, Stanley, Thuney, Incognito, Ragnow, Lindsley, Martin, Brooks, Wirfs, and Conklin, all for the NFC. And then the AFC, we have Armstead, Smith, Nelson, Marpet, Andrews, Treader, Teller, Scherf, and Collins and Johnson. So no one too surprising. Conklin, an 83 overall. And it looks like that's going to be probably the lowest in terms of offensive overall, which always kind of surprising. For defensive line for the NFC, we have Clowney, Hunter, Ngankwo, Epinesa? Not sure. Joseph Day, Vita Vea, Clark. And then for the AFC, we have Payne, Williams, Hargrave, Davenport, Garrett, Hicks, and Thomas. So Solomon Thomas did make it for us. I'm pretty sure he did lead us in sacks this year. I want to say maybe 7. We'll take a look at the stats after we get through the Super Bowl week. For linebackers, we have Watt, Mack, and Parsons and Greenlaw for the outside, and then Evans and Queen for the middle linebackers for the NFC. For the AFC, we have Bosa and Judon, and then Allen and Jones with Bobby Okereke for us. He did make the number 1 middle linebacker as well, so much respect there, and Fred Warner. For corners, we have Davis, Diggs, Johnson, Griffin for the NFC. For the AFC, we have Murphy Bunting, Awuzie, I think it's Awuzie, Snead, and Howard. And then for the safeties, we have McCourty and Tart for free safeties, and then Matthew and Harrison Jr. for strong safeties. AFC, we have Diggs and Chin for free, and then Allen and Peppers for strong. So surprisingly, Justin Reed did not get in there, even though he feel like he played pretty well. For kickers, we have Seibert, Mann, and Buckner and Kern. For kick returners, Oliver and Williams, and then Mostert and Gurley. So none of our guys made it in terms of kick returners or kickers. So we had 2, which isn't too bad considering we didn't play all extremely well. I think we won, 4.5, 5.5 games? So pretty good in terms of that aspect. We'll jump on over to the Super Bowl week, which will be the Chiefs and the Saints. We'll check out that score, and then also check out the score after we check out our stats. And I almost forgot about the yearly awards. So Teddy B wins MVP of the NFL, followed by Coach of the Year Brandon Starks for the Washington football team. Does not look like we are anywhere on there, which is unfortunate. Granted, again, still don't have a great record. Teddy B wins Offensive Player of the Year. Chase Young wins Defensive Player of the Year. So Kansas City getting a lot of high-ranking award winners here. Offensive Rookie goes to CJ Orchard, which I feel like we kind of gypped a little bit. There he is, Junior Generals. I didn't even see him at first. Number 3. I feel like he could have been higher, but again, 5'11" and 1 kind of makes it harder to be higher, especially if either of these guys are quarterbacks, which they might have been. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Walter Jones. I don't think we had a rookie start anywhere, so makes sense. Best quarterback, Teddy B. Best running back, Zeke Elliott. Best receiver, Terry McLaurin. Did we happen to get anyone on here? Does not look like it, no. Best O-line goes to Trent Brown. Best D-line goes to Chase Young with Solomon Thomas at number 3. Again, he played very well for us. Best linebacker goes to Josh Allen. He's more of an edge guy, but Madden doesn't really know how to separate those. Best DB, Sean Murphy Bunting. Did we happen to get anyone in there? No, we did not. Best kicker goes to Tucker McCann. For the NFC, best kicker is Riley Patterson. Offensive Player of the Year, Joe Burrow. Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. And then Darrell McLean, Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Vikings. Defensive Rookie of the Year is Chris Weathers. Best quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Best running back, David Montgomery, the actual Montgomery running back that made the Pro Bowl. Best receiver, Deebo Samuel. Best O-line, Ronnie Stanley. Aaron Donald wins Best D-line. TJ Watt, Best linebacker. Again, more just edge rush. Devin McCourty gets Best DB. And we already saw the kicker. So those are all of the yearly awards. We had some guys that were up there, but fortunately we didn't win anything. And then in terms of stats, so this is simmed game, so it should be more equivalent to what the rest of sim is for the rest of the league. So we'll take a quick look at the team stats as well. So see total offensive yards. Where did we end up landing here? Looking for the Chargers. So definitely not that high up. Definitely below average. We only had, I'll just say 5,700 yards. 19 doesn't make much of a difference there. In terms of passing yards, I feel like we passed the ball quite a bit. But I don't think we did it extremely well. About a little under average, but around average. About 4,200. And then best rushing just in general. Sorry, I saw something moving out the window. General, we were basically bottom of the NFL. We did not run very well. Even though we have Christian McCaffrey, he's definitely more of a receiving threat. And we're bottom 3. We're third worst in terms of points per game. So not very good there. we had the least amount of passing touchdowns by 1, and then rushing touchdowns actually looks like we'll be about mid, maybe a little bit below average, but about average. And then first downs, I feel like we're definitely towards the bottom here. Yeah, definitely towards the bottom, definitely below average. So a lot that we could work on just across the board, but defense for us actually played pretty decently, I felt, most of the time. Obviously, we lost some games, but in terms of passing yards allowed, we're not doing too bad. We're actually, I would say, slightly above average. I did skip the total yards. So let's see if we can find where we are in terms of total yards. And again, about average. So defense definitely doing better than our offense. And looks like, if I keep getting mixed up with Chargers and Cardinals while scrolling through here, a little bit below average in terms of rushing yards allowed. Points allowed. Let's see. Again, I feel like we're actually pretty bad. A little bit below average, so we gave up quite a bit, but it does look like we had quite a few sacks. I would say, what is that, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? We're 5th best, so pretty good there. I definitely noticed that our pass rush did get a lot better this year than it was the first year. And about average in terms of fumble recoveries. We had 9 interceptions. That'll put us pretty low. We're pretty low there with 9, 10 less than the highest. So definitely some room to get better there. In terms of individual stats, Davis Mills threw for 4,300 yards on the dot, but he did have 16 interceptions, only 18 touchdowns. So need to get better there, and there hasn't been really a draftable quarterback up to this point. He did have okay completion percentage, 63%. He was sacked 43 times. So not good in terms of that. Rushing yards, Christian McCaffrey did get over 1,012 touchdowns. He did not fumble, and he averaged 4.5 yards a carry, which isn't bad, but I feel like there just wasn't a lot of consistency in terms of getting solid runs towards the later half of the year. We definitely got better there. But a large difference between carries between Christian McCaffrey and then any of our backups. Ty Montgomery was number 2 with 28 carries, so a big difference, almost 250 less carries. He only had 79 yards, did have 4 touchdowns. Simi Fehoko ran the ball a little bit as well. We saw that shotgun formation that's more like a wildcat that they put him in at quarterback, and they run read option. I really like that play. He had a few carries, did have 1 touchdown, did also fumble once. Mills only fumbled 3 times, which for a Madden quarterback, not bad. Laird had 2 touchdowns, and Bodden had a touchdown as well rushing. And in his rookie year, Junior Generals goes over 1,000 yards receiving, to be exact, 1,127 yards. Only had 2 touchdowns, so we need to get him in the end zone. He definitely helps us get to the red zone, but finding him when we're in the red zone was a bit of a struggle. Simi Fehoko, I believe, was our leading reception guy. He had 880 yards and also didn't play, I think, 3-ish games because Madden messed with my depth chart and I didn't quite notice, and he did lead us in receiving receiving touchdowns. Let's take a look at go back to the main breakdown here. Ertz was our number 3 guy with 633 yards, 3 touchdowns. We ended up switching him out with Schultz about halfway through the season. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside definitely improved for us this year. He had a little bit over 700 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ertz, who, like I said, then came in for Ertz. Did I say Ertz the first time? Schultz came in for Ertz. Can't quite remember. He had 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. So combine them and you have 5 touchdowns and a little over 1,000 yards. So really good for our tight ends. McCaffrey had a receiving touchdown, 365 yards. And then a little bit sprinkled throughout. Montgomery caught a touchdown, and DeAndre Carter caught one as well. But not a whole lot in terms of our backup receivers getting a lot of attention. Up front, sacks allowed. DeCastro, one of our starting guys, allowed 0. Walker Little allowed 11. We ended up taking him out about halfway through the season. Followed up Theo Hayes, who came in at right tackle for Schwartz, who was also giving up a fair amount of sacks. He ended up giving up more. Andres Pete gave up 7, Schwartz gave up 6, Andre James gave up 4, and then Cedric Bryan, who we ended up bringing in for Walker Little, for about half the season, he struggles in the run game, but passing game does really well and only allowed 2 sacks. So I think he's definitely taken over that left tackle spot. For our defense, in terms of total tackles, that's going to go to Bobby Okereke, who had 152 tackles. Next guy up was Blake Martinez, who had 124, which is still really good. So really good for our middle linebackers, definitely leading the way for us there. Tackles for loss, Solomon Thomas had 15, Harrison Phillips had 14, Bobby Okereke had 10, and then a few of our other guys had some as well. I mentioned Takk McKinley had 7, which is pretty good for his first year here. And then Everson Griffin had 4. He honestly wasn't on the field as much as he was the first season. And I was way off in terms of sacks. Solomon Thomas basically doubled the amount that I thought he had with 16. So really good season from him. Hopefully that will continue into next year. Takk McKinley, who was his first year on the team with us, had those 7 tackles for loss as well as 9.5 sacks. Harrison Phillips only had 4 sacks, but he's primarily a run stopper in the middle for us. Bobby Okereke had 3.5 as well as Martinez. Then Griffin had 3. Coleman had 2. Alualu had 1.5. Anderson had 1. Curtis Riley and Michael Thomas shared a sack as well. So pretty good in terms of sacks. Interceptions, we had 2 for Martinez, Paulson Adebo, and Justin Reed. And then Okereke, Riley, and Sherman each had 1. And I always like to check the forced fumbles. Looks like we actually forced a fair amount here. That would be 6. So 2 to Solomon Thomas, and then 1 for Adebo, Reed, Okereke, and McKinley. So we forced 6. How many did we recover? Only 2. So definitely need to get better at recovering those. I don't believe we had any block kicked. We did. Everson Griffin blocked 1 kick, which is nice. Safety counts, we didn't have any safeties. And I know we have a few. Yeah, we had 2 defensive touchdowns, 1 to Justin Reed and then 1 to Bobby Okereke, who are definitely the leaders of our defense. Also put Solomon Thomas up there. And in terms of kicking, extra points, really good for Fairburn. Field goals, not very good. He missed 8 field goals, so that's quite a decent chunk of points, 24 points that we missed out this season, which could have won us some of our closer games, unfortunately. But there's also no one else we could really change him out with, so he will remain our kicker for now. In terms of kick return yardage, DeAndre Carter, pretty decent, had about 25.7 yards a return. Bryce Love had 25, and Montgomery only returned 2, so 23.5, but doesn't quite count. In terms of punt returns, Bryce Love averaged about 9 yards, 9.3, but we did not have any kick return or punt return touchdowns. So hopefully we could get some more special teams points this next season, but that's all the stats. So time to send to the end of the season, take a look at the Super Bowls and start making some choices on what we're going to do with our roster. And the Saints end up winning the Super Bowl this year. Their second, I'm assuming, because it says 2-time NFC champion, so they've only been to 2, and they won the last one that I could remember. So yes, Saints win 27-20 against our division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, who played very well, and Teddy B was the MVP of the NFL this year, and they had he was also Offensive Player of the Year. They had Best Running Back, Best Defensive Player of the Year as well. So a really good Kansas City team ends up falling to the Saints. So congratulations to the Saints. But now it's time to get into the offseason, and I don't believe there's much to do during the staff week. So since our team didn't play all too well, we won't be making any changes in terms of staff to add some realism, like they were hired elsewhere or anything like that. So I think that's about all we have. It's now time to move on to the offseason and try to bring in maybe some of our players, current players, maybe release some. And also we need to clean up the roster from any of the players that was brought on from the practice squad that aren't California players. I always tell the settings to not automatically add players, but it still seems to do it. So just want to make sure we clean everything out and see what other kind of players we could bring in. And the first thing we need to check is retirements. And I'm going to have to find us on here since our season was done earlier. And we did only have one retiree. Tyson Alualu is retired now. I will no longer mess up his name, as I call him about 3 different variations that are probably not actually how you pronounce his name. So sorry for that if you ever do see this. But yeah, he is retired after 13 years in the NFL. He was a very good backup defensive lineman for us. He actually came in a fair bit, especially when we were in rundowns. So he helped us out quite a bit. We'll miss him, but now we need to try to see who else we could keep, as I'm assuming there's quite a bit of regression that probably happened. Everson Griffin didn't drop as much as I assumed he would. Still a 71. Richard Sherman has now dropped to a 70, and he really doesn't have much in terms of zone coverage. So we'll see if we end up bringing them back. Lewis Marshall, we definitely want to. He liked the bonus and duration, just not the salary. So we will go ahead and boost that a fair bit here. Make it 4 years, 10.4 mil, which would definitely carry him into regression. And he will return. Either way, we needed him to return. Ty Montgomery hasn't regressed all too much. Still a 71. Maybe regressed a few points. Regressed a bit. But we still might keep him around as he's a solid utility kind of player for us. As we take a look here at the ratings, I mean, his speed is a little low. Acceleration's still pretty good. And he does have some elusiveness. And his catching is still alright. So we'll probably keep him around. I don't think he will want that much money. A decent amount. But for 1 year, I think it'll be fine. We'll offer him the 2.65, and if he doesn't take it, I doubt. Yeah, he's going to test free agency, but I doubt he's going to receive much of any offers. DeAndre Carter, it looks like he probably regressed a point or two. Regressed a little bit, but didn't lose a whole lot in terms of his receiver skills. And they're decent. He's definitely a slot guy, as he does not have much release. But he's played all right whenever he's gotten on the field for us. So we'll probably offer him something small, but we'll just offer the base. And if he ends up not taking it, we'll see if we want to add him again when it comes to free agency. Chad Hansen also has regressed a bit. He was a higher overall than Carter was. He lost 7 points, 2 to catching, 2 to release, 1 to catch in traffic, and 2 to awareness. What does the rest of his ratings look like, though? Catching rating's still pretty solid and okay route running. So we'll offer him another small contract just so we can have some depth on the team in case of injuries. Again, he might not accept this, but yeah, just like most of them, we'll see when it comes to the open free agency. If we end up bringing him back, Curtis Riley, he's a backup safety for us. At this point, might need to have him switch over to strong safety, so he doesn't have much in terms of coverage, but there's also not a whole lot of safety options for California-only players. So we'll offer the base contract here. Again, we'll probably end up having to move him over to strong safety. But that is all of the signings that we could do now. So I think that's about it that we really have to do at this stage. I'll just double check on the menu. And yep, that's all we have to do at this point. So we'll jump over to the free agency, open free agency week. And the first thing I'll do is clean up the roster just to make sure that we don't have any lingering non-California players that came on from the practice squad. And now to make signing free agents a little bit easier, what I went ahead and did was went through every available player. I had my list of California schools with players in the NFL up. So I found everyone. I might have missed a couple, or if they were below 60 overall, I didn't bother offering them. But basically what we're going to do is just go through position by position, see who's available, see if we really need them, and kind of go from there. So first up is quarterbacks, just making sure it actually is recording. Quarterbacks, I have Davis Webb. I really don't need him. We have Mills as our starter, Brett Hundley as our backup, and then we have a couple other guys who are undrafted rookies who are about his overall, so we won't need him, but I just want to show you everyone that is available so you know I'm looking at all available California-only school players. So Webb, we will withdraw the offer from because we don't need him. Now, we could use some help at running back, and there are a fair few amount that I honestly would like to bring in. Rashard Penny is the highest overall, but Joshua Kelly, we've used him in the Minnesota Vikings franchise, and he's played amazing. So he's one that I would love to bring in, but he does have some other offers. Rashard Penny currently does not. There's also Demetric Felton, and then Ty Montgomery, who we could bring back, and we probably could use another 1 or 2 running backs. So we'll take a look at their individual ratings. Penny, who's from San Diego State, is 5'11", 220, 27 years old, and he has some speed, acceleration, as well as some break tackle ability. He's pretty good in terms of carrying and stiff arm. Not going to be a receiving back for us whatsoever. Has a little bit of trucking ability as well. Now, the reason that I really like Kelly and use him quite a bit in the Vikings franchise is that he seems to be a very well-rounded back. He has a little bit of speed and acceleration, but he has a good blend of trucking and elusiveness that's definitely helped him out, and catching not very high, but I would like to bring him in as he is a few years younger as well. So we'll give him a decent offer here, see where that puts us. Be 3 years, 9.6, be a 98-point offer, and that would put us highest overall there. Then there's Demetric Felton Jr., who is out of UCLA as well, and he has a little bit of speed, definitely has some acceleration. He's more of an elusive type that has some catching ability, and I feel like he could be a good guy to kind of replace what we were using Montgomery for. So we'll give him a decent offer as well. Because, I mean, we need all these guys. He currently doesn't have an offer, if I remember correctly, so we'll take this down a little bit here, but we'll leave it high enough that we have 4 years, 10.5. I think that'll be a nice offer for him. Not too high, but not too low. And Montgomery, we'll give some offers for these guys, but I'm definitely going to have them be a lower offer, as we very well might end up releasing him. So I'll put it more in the salary, and we'll give him a little bit of a signing bonus. Doubt he'll end up taking it, because we don't necessarily need him. And Penny, we could bring in. We don't need all these running backs, as we currently don't run a whole lot. So I'm going to withdraw the offer from Penny, even though he is a higher overall. I've seen how Kelly can play, and he is younger. So hopefully we'll get Kelly. If not, we'll try to go after Penny come the next round. Fullbacks, there is Keith Smith, who would be a backup, and I really don't think we need a backup, but again, he was available, so I just wanted to show you guys, but I will remove that offer. Now at receiver, as I bump my mic, I need to scoot up a little bit so you could hear me a little bit better, because it is a little low. We do have a couple options at receiver. Most will be backups. The only one that might push for a starting spot would be Marvin Jones Jr. Now, I don't necessarily know where he would fit, as we kind of have our 3 with Junior Generals, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and then Simi Fehoko at slot. But Marvin Jones Jr. is definitely a talented receiver that we could use. He has regressed a little bit, but could also be really good for us. So I would like to offer him a 1-year deal. Nothing too crazy. Do a 1 year, 3.45. I don't think anyone else has offered him at this point. No one has. If he ends up signing, great. Sounds good. Keyshawn Johnson is a kind of guy that we could bring in to add a little bit more youth, a little bit more youthfulness. He is 26, but also a little bit of a veteran presence to the backups. And he has some good catching ratings, good deep route running. He would be a backup receiver, but definitely someone that we could bring in. And I would like to make it a little bit cheaper, as he currently does not have any other contract offers. 3 years, 8.85 mil. It's still a solid offer, still would keep him in the green. And then Chad Hansen and Trenton Irwin. Now Hansen, he is getting a little bit on the older side. Ratings are dipping. There's not really a specific spot in which he would go in, so I'm going to withdraw the offer from him for now. Could potentially bring him back at a later point. Now Trenton Irwin is honestly a little bit more of like a possible tight end kind of guy, if we really want to try utilize him as that. He doesn't provide much run blocking, but could be an interesting depth guy, and I liked watching him at Stanford, so I'll give him a small 2-year deal, see if he ends up taking it. 2 years, 1.5. pretty good offer. I could probably even go lower with that one, and I think I will make it a 2 years, $650,000 contract per year. So some receivers that we could bring in. Tight ends, there were a bunch available. Again, just wanted to show you we don't need any tight ends at this point. We could possibly bring in one person if we want to develop a guy. Most of these guys up top are all 26, and then there's Steven Anderson who's 30, so not going to bother with him, but he was an option. Caden Smith would be a Viking player, or not a Viking, I think I've signed him in a previous Viking series, but a Stanford player that we could bring in. There's also Waring, who I want to say San Diego. Yep, San Diego State. And then there is Josh Oliver, who oh, I didn't mean to exclude him. Let me go try to find him again. Oliver. There he is. So Josh Oliver was San Jose. It was not UCLA. And with him, he has good catching ratings, but he doesn't have much in terms of run blocking, and I would like to find someone who's a bit of a balanced guy there. Caden Smith already has an offer. Granted, it looks like to be about the same offer that we have in place. And with him, you're going to get a bit of a blend. 77 speed, also has some run blocking ability. And then Waring, I didn't quite take a look at what his was. Has more speed, a little less catching, a little less run blocking. Because the Ravens already have an offer put out for Caden, I will rescind that contract offer here, and I will give Waring a higher contract offer, since he currently doesn't have or not really a higher, but a longer term contract offer. Will lower the price a little bit. 3 years, 7.35. Doesn't have much interest in it, but again, we don't need that tight end spot, so it's out there if he wants it. Now, on the offensive line, I went ahead again and added anyone who we possibly could. Cameron Fleming, we ended up cutting last year because he wouldn't find a spot out there to get much play time. So probably won't really be resigning him. He's someone who we might end up having to bring in if we have some injuries. Another guy that was available is Keith Ismail. Again, not quite sure on the pronunciation there. He's from San Diego State. He would be a backup, and he has some decent ratings that you could try to build off of, mainly the finesse moves, but not someone that I necessarily think we need to bring in, considering we have Andre James and then Dahlman, who is a bit younger and even a slightly higher overall. There is Brunskill, who we could bring in. He is 29, going to start regressing, or probably already has regressed, and we do have Nate Herbig. So again, not someone I think we need to bring in. But again, just showing everybody. Now, one player who's a possible guy that we could bring in, but does already have some contract offers, is Adonga here. And he's 26 years old, out of USC. His ratings are okay. Much more of a finesse blocker than a power guy, which fits our scheme. But I don't know if he has necessarily a path to start at 72 overall at tackle. We kind of already have our guys at the tackle spots, so I don't think we need him. We could potentially get him as a backup, but again, people are already offering him to possibly be a starter, so for now, we're not going to make that offer. Now, we could use some help along the defensive line, whether it's just getting younger depth or possible starters, as we have... Interesting, didn't quite move over. There we go. Over at right end, we only have one guy, and it would be a second-year Coleman, so we could definitely use some of these older guys, possibly Rasheem Green, or we could go after Jay Tufele, 24 years old, and out of USC. And with his ratings, you have some good strength and you have a block shredder. So to me, he's more of a DT. His size, or I guess in this in the 3-4, be more of a nose tackle. He's 6'2", 305, so he kind of fits that mold. So I could definitely give him a solid offer here, and at worst case, he would be a backup for us for a bit. But we do have other teams we're competing against that we need to jump ahead of. It's a 112-point offer here, which does put us ahead. He is only 70 overall, but again, provides us a nice guy to try to develop, get younger, as well as specifically since we don't have any other DTs available at this point, could definitely help us out there. Rasheem Green could help us out on the outside, I believe. 6'4", 279, also out of USC. And he has a bit of block shedding as well as power moves, so a bit more of a balanced guy, just doesn't have as much strength. It would go up by 4 because I believe we have the perk for our defensive coordinator. So that would go up to, I think, 86, but I still think that would be better for one of the left end, right end spots that are still interior guys for us in our 3-4. So I would like to make an offer for him as well. He is 26, so I think a 4-year deal would be good for him. We'll bump this up a little bit because we are competing with some other teams. Be a 93-point offer. And that gets us up to second, but the Titans are definitely going hard for him here. So let's go ahead and give him a larger contract. And even if it ends up he doesn't start, he could still very well be a guy who's in the heavy rotation, depending on what we're able to find in the draft. So we'll keep raising this up a little bit. 4 years, 20 mil, 112-point offer. Barely puts us above the Titans. We'll raise it up a little bit more. Let's just make this 20.6 mil. And that raises us up a little bit. And hopefully we'll get that one. Everson Griffin is still playing. He has not retired in this universe. I don't think he's retired in real life yet either. At least hasn't said anything. At this point, he would be a pure backup for us. So I will lower the contract offer. Mainly because he won't see the field very much. But we could use the depth. So it's basically kind of what he did for us last year. So I'm trying to make this basically a 1 year, 2 mil. Again, he might not go for it. It is only a 60-point bid, but if he goes for it, then great. Another option is Mariner. That's the one that I know how to say. Jacob Tiote Mariner, possibly. 6'2", 285, 27 years old out of UCLA. He'd be a guy that we would possibly move to end position with that size. His strength is a little low, speed a little low. I wouldn't think an outside backer would fit him quite well, but could be possibly someone we could move around. Definitely someone who could be a backup edge rusher for us. And I believe he had some contract offers as well. We are already in the lead. Texans trying to get in the mix here. So we'll just bump this up to 550, make it a 2 year, 4 mil. I think that would be a solid contract offer for him and would get us well ahead, and we should get him. We have some other linebackers as well that we could bring in. They're not necessarily on the younger side. Now, Kenny Young does have a contract offer from the Saints, who just won the Super Bowl. And he's definitely more of a run stopper, has some coverage ability, decent speed, good acceleration and tackling there. And then Michael Walker, or Michael, not quite sure how the pronunciation would go there, from Fresno State. And he's a little bit more of a developmental kind of guy, but very similar in terms of the ratings, and has much better speed at still a good size as well. And he doesn't have a contract offer. So to be a backup for us here, we'll lower this a little bit. We'll go with a 3 year, 8.76 mil contract offer. It's an 80-point bid. He should accept that. And I'll leave Kenny Young on there as well. If he ends up taking it, great. We could have some higher rated backups. If not, that's okay. And that's all the linebackers we could find. There were no corners available. We have all of the possible ones that are available to us. And luckily, we were able to find some safeties. There is DeMonte Kazee and Tolanoa? Really bad at pronouncing some of these. Hufanga, who's probably more of a strong safety, and there were no strong safeties available. So we will try to get both of these guys as they are higher overall. DeMonte Kazee here, 30 years old out of San Diego State, has some speed, some acceleration, has a little bit of cover ability, is down currently from morale, and hit power is pretty decent as well. So we will offer, we'll probably keep it around this. I'll lower it just a little bit. We'll make it a 2 year, about $5 million contract offer for him, and he does not have any offers, and Hufanga does not either. 6 foot, 210, 23 years old out of USC, and like I said, he's a strong safety. He doesn't have as much speed or acceleration, but he can hit. Won't always get the tackle, but he can definitely hit, and has decent awareness as well. So someone that we might actually end up having start, and we'll give him a decent contract offer here as well. Make it a 4 year, 8.12 be a 76. I think that should be plenty enough to get him. And again, no other kickers. We don't need to look for a punter as we have Jake Bailey. But those are all of the offers that we have, and hopefully they will sign. And we were rejected by Kelly, so he will not be joining our team, or this universe. He is with the Vikings universe, but not in this one. Unfortunately, he is going to reject, so hopefully we can maybe go after Penny if he's still available. We do end up getting Kenny Young, surprisingly. He went for us versus whoever else offered him. Jacob Mariner. Again, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that first part of the name. We do get Felton, so we do get one of the running backs. Rasheem Green accepts. Hafunga accepts, so we most likely have a new starter there with safety. Tufele also is coming in, which is fantastic. We do get Kazee. And we do get Marvin Jones Jr., so we have a veteran in there to try to help us out, and we do get Michael Walker. So I believe we got most of everyone that we were looking for there. Jump in here and see if there's any other lingering contracts, which there are. Montgomery now has some offers. That's fine. He can go. Keyshawn Johnson currently does not have any other offers. Everson Griffin does not. Waring does. That's fine. We don't need him. And Irwin still does not have any other offers. So, do we need to find another running back? Is Penny still available? He is, and no one else has offered a contract at this point. So, I think we could definitely try to swing in here and get a deal done just so we have a good backup. That will be a 3-year, $9.6 million. I think that's what we offered Kelly. At least that number is in my head for some reason. So we will offer that just so hopefully we could try to get another running back just to help out with the workload that McCaffrey has. We do obviously have some other guys, but not necessarily to the level of Penny, who could definitely take over the... was he a power back? I don't quite remember if he had much in terms of the power rating. He has some trucking ability, more just be an elusive backup for us. And then Felton, I believe, was the one that had some power to him. So we'll see. Some of these guys may not end up making the squad. Some of the guys that we currently had before signing may not either. So those are the offers we're going to put out for now. And I did want to mention, I did go through the roster and cut anyone who was not on a college team from California. It was mainly just receivers. I think there was like 4 receivers that Madden decided to add to us, which I did not want nor need, so I've cut them. We're back again just to having California only schools, and that is all we need to do at this point. So we will jump again over to the next week, and hopefully we'll get the rest of those signed, and then we need to choose some guys. Actually, I think I might have needed to already do that, so might have messed that part up. Talking about the off-season focus scouting, pretty sure is in week 3. And yeah, it is now. So we need to choose someone. So let's take a look. I would really want to find some corners if we have any available to us. So let's just kind of go through here, find out if we have any high overall guys that we would want to learn a bit more from. I don't think we need to go really after any of the receivers. I feel like we're pretty good there. Bobby Parks we could possibly do, as he's close to completion. Anyone else? I'm pretty sure there was some D-line people I really liked. Maybe DTs. Yeah, Tresman Reed, I remember liking him, but they are all 100% scouted, so we know that they're actually a 1-2. So definitely we'll look at the offensive lineman to see where he falls. Maybe a middle linebacker here in Stephen McCoy, who I think I tried to do before and it ended up not working. There's Nathan Gregory, who looks also like he could be pretty good, an actual round 1 guy. And then just some round 3 corners, so no one too high then. I think what I will do, and I've heard that if you go into your favorites, keep it on all and then go through and select your players to scout that way, you should get more than just one person. I think I've gotten 2 people one time. I don't think I've ever gotten all 3, but we will do Bobby Parks. And I wanted to do maybe the 2 linebackers. So we'll go with McCoy again, try to see how good he is. And then Nathan Gregory, just to find out where all we need to be making our picks at. And we'll confirm with those. So all on defense. Defense needs to get a little bit better. I feel like we brought in a lot of good guys, or possible guys on offense that could help us out a little bit. I also brought in a lot of guys on defense who hopefully will be able to help us out as well. But I did not even look at the bottom to see if we got any new signees. And Rashard Penny did accept, so he will be joining. We also have Everson Griffin coming back to be a backup, help lead the squad in terms of a locker room, and then Keyshawn Johnson joined. So just about everyone that we were trying to go after has joined. I think Irwin and maybe one other haven't. No, just Irwin, but we're not going to give him any higher contract than what we already gave him. If he joins, great. If he doesn't, we might resign or sign him in the post-draft free agency. But I think, again, that's all we have to do at this point. I think it's about time to jump into the draft. And welcome to the actual draft portion where we are actually picking 3, not picking number 1. I think I guess after the first season we were picking, I think, spot 2. So we've moved up a spot, so making progress. Just going to view the draft board here. I did take a look in between week 3 of the offseason and now at those players that we had the focus scouting on, and we did find out the rest of the information on them. Unfortunately, nothing too great, at least with them going up or anything. Bobby Parks ends up actually being around 1 to 2, and with him, he has some good ratings, but also some that are a little worrying. So pass block is a D, run block is a C, pass block power is a C. Also, run block power is a C as well, but he does have run block finesse as an A and pass block finesse as B. We are a finesse scheme, but having that D pass block is a little worrying, but still probably one of the better offensive linemen, or is the better offensive lineman that we could possibly pick up. I just don't think I would necessarily need to push for him, but that is an option. In terms of our picks, we do have the 3rd pick as well as the 23rd. If he's available 23, we could go there. But I think what I would rather do is go for Tresman Reed, who is kind of an all-around lineman for us. He's 6'3", 306, 22 years old, out of Stanford. And his physicals are pretty good. Has speed, has some strength that will even go up with our coaching. Also can jump a little bit and has some good acceleration. And his skill set is very well balanced. We could kind of take him wherever we want, with block shedding, finesse moves, and power moves all being Bs, and then awareness is a B and play rec is a B. So really good ratings. He would definitely, I would select him over the offensive lineman. But I think where we want to go with the first pick for us, which would be 3 unless we drop down, I went the wrong way, would be the right outside linebacker Nathan Gregory. Now he did go down from around 1 to around 1 to 2, but he still looks really good. 6'4", 266, 22 years old, out of UCLA. He did only have 26 to 27 bench reps, but again, would go up with our coaches. But he's also really fast, has some power because he can jump pretty well, has some acceleration, but nothing too crazy. But he has A power moves, B finesse moves, A hit power, A impact block, B block shedding, A awareness. So some really good outside linebacker ratings that are primarily going to be used to rush. He probably won't be dropping into coverage, although he does have C, zone, and man, so could be okay. But I think he would be our number 1 with him being around 1 projected. And we could always check to see where these guys are expected to go. So Nathan Gregory and Tresman Reed are the number 1 guys that we're looking for. And actually has Nathan Gregory possibly going... Oh no, I'm looking at the right outside linebackers. I was like, oh wow, he's going a lot earlier than I thought. But no, so not going that early. If we run through here, it has him going possibly at 19. That's where it estimates that he would go. And then Tresman Reed, I don't think we passed him. Bobby Parks they have at 33. And then maybe I did pass. Nope, they have Tresman Reed down at 50. So I feel like we could probably trade down from our first pick to maybe mid round of the first round, possibly just go back to 10 or somewhere around there. Maybe get another first round for next year or something, kind of like that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of first round for us, and then the rest will just kind of fall where it falls. So let's see what falls. The first pick, Seattle Seahawks go Jawan Mallard, quarterback out of Clemson. The Lions Follow that up with another quarterback, Alex McLean out of Penn State, and then we are up. We obviously know our guys aren't going this early, so we'll review the trade offers and kind of see what all is available. The Bears would have us drop down to 14. They will give us a second and a third, which could be okay. We're looking for a first-round pick in 2023, so we won't be looking at the Browns, even though it says 10. Not really what we're looking for. Texans drop down to 15. Also pick up a second and a third. 18 and just pick up a 1. We could pick up a 1 next year, which is intriguing, but I don't want to drop down to 18. Any other 2023s? Drop down to 8 and pick up a 2 next year and a 5 this year, which is okay. Drop down to 11. Also get a 2 and a 6 this year, which is intriguing. Granted, I don't think there was much for us in the second round this year. If I could get a 1 and a 1, that'd be great, but we'll see. Carolina drop down to 7, get a 3 and a 5 next year. Drop down to 30 this year and pick up a 1 next year, as well as a 2 this year. But again, don't want to drop that low. The 27th pick and pick up a 1 next year and a 2 this year. Again, dropping pretty far. Drop down to 12, pick up a 2 and a 5. Not bad from the Jets. Drop down to 25, get a 1 next year and a 3 this year. 13 for the Falcons and a 2 this year and a 3 next year, which honestly isn't too bad. I think I would do that over the Jets. And drop down to 5, pick up a 3 and a 7 next year. I drop down to 9, pick up a 2 and a 6 next year, or just drop out completely for the no. I think we might do the Falcons here. Drop down to 13 because they had the Nathan Gregory at 19, I believe. So I feel like we could do that, and if we see some outside linebackers going, we could try to move up to get him. But this will give us a little bit more ammunition in a way. So we will trade with Atlanta, drop down from 3 to 13. So drop down 10 spots. And hopefully our guy is still available at that point. We'll continue along here till we get to that point. And they trade up for Adonis Potter, cornerback out of Georgia. Broncos go Will Graham, left end out of Auburn. Eagles go Andrew Yancey, receiver out of Florida. Bengals go offensive lineman Tyler Patterson out of Florida State. Panthers go with George Pitts, right outside linebacker out of Michigan State. Now let's take a look to view the draft board here, because I don't remember if he was a right or a left outside linebacker. I want to say he was a right, and he is the next available, so possibly now need to try to move back up. We'll take a look and see if anyone in between now and then are going for outside linebackers, just in general, right or left. And I believe it was the Ravens and then Dolphins. So let's check them, see if we need to make a trade. And of course, first one, Ravens, they do need a left outside linebacker, so they could very well try to take our guy here. So let's see what we could do. We will give them the first round, drop down just a little bit, and see what we have to offer. We have a couple 2s, so I don't think we need to offer that. Let's see. They take a 3 that we got, and I don't know, toss in a 6 to move up a little bit. Just curious. And they'll take it. I'm all right with that. I don't think we have that much in terms of late round talent that could really make an impact here for us, so I think that is a solid move. We still picked up a 2, I think, for this year, or 3 this year. Somewhere around it, but then we did trade that. Either way, I'm fine with it. Let's go make our selection and get our guy before he is taken. That will be Gregory, the right outside linebacker. Or was it UCLA? It is UCLA. Nathan Gregory will be our number 1 pick. We don't want to miss out on him. And hopefully, no, just a normal dev. That's all right. 80 strength, 81 speed, 88 acceleration. He could very well make an impact day 1. We'll find out more at the end of the draft. And now we don't pick until the 23rd pick. And again, our guy should be going much later. So I'll kind of skip along until then and bring you in if there's any sort of suspense or whenever our pick gets here. And now we are back up, pick 23 in the first round. Again, we don't have a lot of options to us. We only have a few that we could really go after. And technically, when you're looking at what they would assume would come next, Bobby Parks is in 11 picks. So they say that he should possibly be better, but I'm just not too sure. I want to go with a guy who I think could make an impact possibly day one, and that's going to be Tresman Reed. I feel like he has a higher ceiling at least and could play various positions for us. So that is where we're going to go. Tresman Reed, defensive lineman, because he could play anywhere out of Stanford. And he's the hidden dev, 88 strength, 80 speed, 85 acceleration. With those skills alone, he could play literally nose tackle, right end, left end, or kind of be more of defensive tackle at that point, but in the 3-4. But really good. I really hope that his other ratings match those. And we pick again fairly soon, the third pick of the second round. So possibly if Parks is still available at that point, we will go with him. But I'll go ahead and get us down to that point. And there, of course, Packers, they go with Bobby Parks. He is headed to Green Bay, one of my real life rival, and even in the Vikings series as well, obviously, because they're my favorite team, the Vikings. So we won't be drafting Bobby Parks. We'll see what's available when we get to our pick. It is coming up soon. All right, we are on the clock. Let's take a look at the board here. See what's available. I don't remember there being too many round ones. I think there were only 3, and we got 2 of them. So we have some projected 3-4s, day 3s, potential undrafteds, some more 3-4s. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any round 1 to 2s, and we have 3 second round picks. I definitely don't think we need them. We'll probably use those to try to get us some higher picks next year. Hopefully we have a class with some good guys. I will just run through this behind the scenes here and see if there's some guys that maybe we want to get some more later round picks for. So I'm just going to jump through them and I'll let you know what we end up doing. And unfortunately, not much that we saw that would make me want to have any more 3rd, 4th round picks. Maybe some later round picks, but nothing too intriguing. So we will be trying to trade away our haul of 2nd round picks to move up to a 1st round pick next year. Try to find someone that we think we would fit well with. And the Bengals projected to be picking fairly early, so they could be an option. Probably be looking for about a mid-first round, mid to upper, maybe like around 10 to 15. The Browns are picking 10, or projected to be picking 10. Obviously, we won't know for sure. So let's try to see what we could get if we could get their 1st round pick next year. We'll give them some 2s this year, and they'll take it. So they'll get a bunch of picks this year. They'll lose their 1st round pick next year, as well as their 5th this year. And obviously with us not having a whole lot to possibly do in between then and there, not really going to trade up for any of these guys, just went ahead and send on over to our 3rd round pick. I guess we'll see if there are any intriguing guys that are actually to be drafted. So we'll take a look at the corners because we definitely need some corners. Jabari Lowell, 21 years old, and he has some press, but not great cover ability. And then Nicholas Parker. What did you look like? He was a 3-4, actually a day 3 out of Cal. He does have power moves, and then C block shedding and finesse moves. So he has some intriguing ratings. I think we'll go with the corner here just to make sure we get at least 1 corner, and then possibly we'll go with that DT with our 4th round pick. If he's still available, he should be, but you never know. But we'll go with Jabari here, who's just a normal dev, but 21 years old, 93 speed, which is really good. Acceleration, 94. Pretty good change of direction as well with 89. So hopefully we can develop him into something. Hopefully he's kind of like a Darren Hall kind of situation. A young guy who we could help develop and could potentially take over at some point. And it does look like the DT, I believe we were looking at, went. Because there was around 3-4 who was actually... Yeah, who is actually around 3. There is Roman Hightower who's available, who has decent play rec and block shedding, would primarily just be kept at DT at that point. Does look like he's pretty strong. 6'6", 308, 22 years old out of UCLA. So that could be an option here for us. I'll just take a quick look around the rest of the board here. and see if we have anyone else who intrigues me that is actually draftable. And it does look like Hightower is the best available with who we could draft. Obviously, we're limiting ourselves to just California players, so we will be picking him up. Roman Hightower, normal dev, 89 strength, will go up to 93, 22 years old, has some acceleration, not much speed, but again, we'll just be playing that nose tackle role for us. So we'll find out his ratings after the draft, and I think we only have about 3 more picks. And now in the 5th round, we have some receivers who are projected draftable, as well as the middle linebacker who we know really isn't all too great, and a corner who, again, not all too great. So at this point, kind of just trying to pick the best available at this point and go from there. Jelani Rucker is the highest projected with a 3-4. He's 5'8", 179, 23 years old, out of San Jose State. His physicals, not awful. He's got some speed to him. He's not very strong, but he does have some decent acceleration. When you look at the ratings, he has some ball carrier vision, some kick return ability, but a release is not very good, step arm not very good, and juke move not very good. And in Madden fashion, we don't know a single thing about any of his receiving traits. So we'll take a shot in the dark here with Rucker. Normal dev, does have 92 speed, 83 change of direction, 92 agility, and 94 acceleration. So worst case scenario, he's a kicker punt returner. And with our later 5th round pick, only options in terms of draftable guys is Will Tobias, who is a day 3 receiver, projected out of UCLA. 6'5", 219, 22 years old, so he definitely has size, has a little bit of youth. Has some okay speed, is actually fairly strong for a receiver. He can jump, but he's not very quick or agile. Could possibly maybe be a guy we move over to tight end. Because I did say he was, 6'5", so if he could put a few pounds on, maybe. We'll take a shot in the dark. Again, that's all we could really do at this point. And he's at least hidden dev, so something to look forward to there. 89 speed, 88 acceleration, 87 agility. Change of direction, not very good, but jumping is an 87, so potential guy that either stays at receiver or we move him to tight end. We'll take a look. And with the last pick in the draft, we still have 15 available. Guys, again, most, I think, if not all but one, are all potential undrafted. So makes our choice a little bit easier here. We will be picking up Will Macy, 6'3", 184, 23 years old, out of UCLA. Has some speed, not a whole lot of strength, but he's quick and agile, so maybe there's something good in there. Man coverage doesn't look too great. Does have some block shedding, no press. Tackle is a B, so possibly even someone that we end up turning into maybe a free safety. Something we could take a look at, because normally my free safeties really don't ever play man coverage. The strong safeties do, but free safeties typically don't. So Will Macy, we'll pick you up. And 92 speed, 81 jumping, 87 change of direction, 86 agility, and 93 acceleration. We'll see what your ratings are and everyone else's is in just a moment. And the moment we've been waiting for since the draft began, or possibly since this episode began, is how good are these guys? And it looks like the highest overall we're going to have is a 74. So not extremely highly rated, but not the worst. Honestly, better than some of our current starters. Nathan Gregory, like I said, 74 overall. It currently does have a -2 for morale and then a +1 from our coaches. So currently sitting at a 73. But as we see with him, he has pretty good power moves to start with 79. Strength with 80 will go up to an 84, I believe, or should. Maybe after we send him over to the next week, it'll have our coaches boost, because I'm pretty sure it might just be our defensive linemen that have that. So he might not be getting the boost to the strength, but still sitting pretty good. Has really good acceleration, has some speed to get around the edge. Does not have much cover ability whatsoever, so will primarily be an edge rusher for us. And I don't know if I like the number 23 on him, but we'll make adjustments to everyone's number and look after we go through everyone. Tresman Reed was our second pick, and he is the hidden dev guy. Does have a current boost, giving him up to a 74 right now. And we find out 92 strength, pretty good power moves at 76, block shedding 75. So you could really go either way with him, and we'll probably try to do a little bit of both, depending on where we end up really placing him. Where he's going to get the most play time will kind of affect where we boost him the most once he gets those upgrades. But 80 speed, also really good. Needs to work on the awareness, but should be a really good lineman for us. And hopefully he's at least a superstar, if not a superstar X factor. Give us some sort of ability down on the defensive line. The next one up was Jabari Lowell. He's 5'10", 182, 21 years old, so about typical corner size, I feel like, at this point, out of USC. And ratings aren't too bad. It'll definitely put him fourth in terms of the depth chart right now. It would put him above Darren Hall. He has the speed, has the acceleration, catching is all right. That press ability is really nice to help us try to develop him as an outside guy. Tackling isn't too high. Block shot, I mean, it's honestly not too bad to try to develop him in the slot either, with 65 tackle and 61 block shedding. So we'll see. He also does have strip ball in terms of his traits and aggressive play ball tendencies. So that can help us get some turnovers. We might need to get him out there as soon as possible. We'll see what the depth chart looks like after, but it honestly turned out a lot better than I thought. Roman Hightower, a guy we just took a guess on basically. He ends up being a 70 overall with the boost from our coaches. He's actually 68. Normal dev, unfortunately, there. But 93 strength with, again, the coach's boost. And then 74 block shedding. So really good starting spot for a strictly run stopper guy. Again, he will not move anywhere from not really DT, because that would be more the edges in a 3-4, but nose tackle for us. Just stay in the middle. Work on tackling a little bit, but again, we just want him to eat up the blocks, and I think he should be able to do that at 6'6", 308. So pretty good pick there for us, just guessing. And then the receivers actually aren't too bad either, at least starting off. Jelani Rucker, 68 overall, a little bit on the smaller side, but really good speed. Actually could catch the ball pretty well. Again, we didn't know any of the catching ratings or receiving ratings for him, and the route runnings are okay. They're a decent spot to start out. Where the release is awful. He's definitely just going to be a slot guy for us, which again, we got rid of or didn't re-sign some of our slot guys like Hansen. So he kind of will basically take his spot on the team. He does have some run after the catch ability with a 78 ball carrier vision, 83 change of direction, and decent juke and spin moves as well. I think he might be taking over for the kick return and punt return duties, and Love will be riding the pine. The next receiver, Will Tobias, is the hidden dev, and what does his ratings look like? He actually has really good short route running, decent release as well, hands pretty solid. Does he happen to have any sort of blocking ability? Not really. I feel like he's kind of a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, possibly even a little bit better than how he originally came into the league. Without having much blocking, I don't necessarily want to put him at tight end. Granted, I don't feel like whenever we're in the Sims that we really play or run a lot of formations that have tight ends used in the typical tight end formations. So we'll see what we end up doing with Tobias, but definitely surprised in a good way with his ratings. And then Macy, our last pick, he's got pretty good size, 6'3", 184, kind of Cameron Dantzler size. 23 years old, is just the normal dev. He definitely needs the work. 60 man coverage, 65 zone coverage. Of course, those are taking a hit with morale, but still, even without it, not in a great spot. Will maybe be a practice squad player. Maybe we'll just make the roster. We will find out. Catching isn't great. Tackles a 64. Block shedding 52. So more of an outside guy than a slot guy. And conservative ball tendency, not great. I like at least balanced to aggressive in that category, but someone we could work on. Unfortunately, he is 23 years old, so not too sure how much better he will get, but he at least brings a little bit of size to the cornerback spot. And now I'll go through and adjust the roster and give us our final look. And I might even, actually, I will sim over to the preseason and go through all the rest of the free agents, see if there's any remaining California guys, and we'll bring them on. And now I have gone through the entire roster, moved some players around, adjusted some numbers, a little bit of equipment management, and went through all the rest of the free agents and brought most of them all in. Some who I just didn't think would make the roster are not on the roster. There were a couple corners that could have come in, but if you look over in the top right hand corner opposite of me, below the little coach thumbnail thing, you'll see we are way above the roster limit right now. We're sitting at 86 players. We need to get down to 75. So I'm definitely going to make one adjustment here. Drew Crawford, you're gone. We found a new quarterback to try to develop to be a backup. So we will be releasing Crawford out of UCLA. And instead, we have a other quarterback out of USC who we found, Edward Feldman, undrafted rookie, 57 overall. So we'll rival Brett Hundley for that backup spot. They have similar speed, similar throw power. Short throw accuracy is definitely in Hundley's favor, but the new guy, Feldman, actually has the medium throw accuracy. Deep, definitely not in his favor, but throw on the run is. So there's some intriguing attributes there that we'll try to hopefully develop. Kevin Hogan probably won't be making the roster either, and we'll run with Feldman, Hundley, and Mills at quarterback. At running back, we have 5 running backs. We definitely do not need 5 of them, and I would like to cut Patrick Laird, but the penalty would be more than what the savings would be. I still would be okay with releasing him, as we have guys who have basically taken his role, but we'll wait on that one, see what else we could do. Nick Bodden. Now, we do only have currently one tight end, or one fullback, but we have a tight end that I'm considering moving over to fullback. Kevin Hanna, undrafted tight end out of California. He doesn't have any speed nor catching ability, but he could run block a little bit. So I'm going to move him over. He'd be a really big fullback, 6'6", 246, but it's the only way he would ever possibly see any play time. So I will make that adjustment. That was one thing that I did forget to do. So fullback, and we'll see what he ends up being. Again, most likely will be a practice squad candidate, if not cut. But he goes up to 61, so a better fit for him there. At receiver, we do have a lot of receivers. Most of them we have seen, but there were, I think, a couple that I did bring in. Pat Carruthers, undrafted, and Christian Cole as undrafted. So I think Trenton Irwin, unfortunately, will not be making the roster. He's 27 years old and is buried. So I will be making that release in this episode rather than in the preseason / week 1 through 4. So that is the one adjustment that we will make there. At tight end, we just have those 3. We did find some other backup linemen, undrafted linemen. Teddy Knott is the highest overall at 62. Kobe Hodel being 24. I'm going to get rid of him. He's never going to progress into anything being that old, and at a 59 overall, even with the coach's boost. So that is one adjustment we will make there. Jonathan Wall is a 59. We'll probably end up only keeping the highest overall of the linemen, the backup ones. So again, Jesse Burris, 24 years old, 53 overall. We will be releasing him. And most of these guys were undrafted guys that we picked up anyway, so we're not going to be losing any cap on them or anything like that. Andrew Ruiz, 62. I think he might be the highest overall in total that we picked up, actually tied with Teddy Knott. So both of them will probably end up definitely staying along. And then we also picked up Kevin Pollard, who is the same overall but a little bit younger than Wilbur. That'll be one of the final cuts we'll make in the first episode of the new season. Don't need to make any cuts here. Henry Anderson might be not a cap casualty, but a roster limit casualty, as we try to get a little bit younger. Don't need to make any adjustments there. Chambers is also one that we might end up getting rid of. I'm pretty sure I drafted him, but he's just kind of buried at this point. Hightower is much better than he is, so he might end up getting cut. I would like to keep any backup outside linebackers that we picked up, just because we don't have a whole lot and they are getting older. So Aries Bradley is one of them. Don't think I found any linebackers. And Aiden Medlock, he's buried. Will never see the field nor progress much to ever see the field. So we will be releasing him, get down to 5 middle linebackers. Even that is too much. Jordan Kunazik, again, might be one that is a roster limit casualty. Right outside linebackers. There was Mitch Simpson. Not sold on him. James Vaunters could be another one of those limit casualties. At corner, we did find one other guy, Enrique Goodwin. I don't necessarily need him to stick around, but I just try to bring in any undrafted rookies and put them on the practice squad so that they can develop. I did move Nate Metters over to free safety to try to give us a little bit of youthful depth, as Kazee is 30, and then half of the guys, more than half over at strong safety, are all 30 plus. So Larry Fountain may end up making the squad, might end up being on the practice squad for one more year, and then we'll make the squad as a depth guy. And then no kickers and punters that I added. So that is kind of the wrap for this episode. We made a lot of changes. The defensive line definitely got better, and the defense did go up in overall. So we should have Solomon Thomas being a starter at 78. And then over at right end, I'm going to start Tresman Reed over Rasheem Green, even though he's a higher overall. We'll use him as a backup, try to get him out there as often as we can. But I want Tresman Reed to get that development, plus he's a hidden depth. So want to get him out there. We also have Dakota Coleman as the backup as well. They could play both interior and on the outside. For the defensive tackle, nose tackle, it will be Harrison Phillips. Tufele will back him up. And then Roman Hightower will be another guy who will try to get out there if we're able to ever get a big lead on anyone. Put in some of these younger guys. I'll try to get him out there. Tack McKinley, we moved over to left outside linebacker. He's probably going to be the first edge rusher to get off the field, to leave the field, even though he had a good season for us last year. We are going to have Nathan Gregory start over at right outside linebacker, and he will get the start or any playtime over Tack McKinley. Middle linebackers didn't change. Bobby Okereke and Martinez. Martinez is getting a little bit older, so potentially down the line, maybe one of either Young or Walker will take his spot. But for now, we'll stick with Martinez. And then cornerback, there was a 74 overall corner that was available. Is it Nickel Roby-Coleman, I believe, played at USC. He was available. I just don't think we want to bring in a guy who's older than anyone else we have at this position, who would be maybe a bench guy, because Lewis Marshall is younger. I would want him to be out there more just so he could develop a bit. He would maybe take Fabian Moreau's spot, but I just, again, didn't think it was needed. Jabari Lowell, we want to get out there as often as we can so he could develop, so didn't want to add another corner above him. No other changes, I think, was made there at that point. Justin Reed is back over to free safety. He played strong safety for us last year and was free safety in the first year. So he's back over there because Z will back him up. And then Hufanga will get the start at strong safety. We're going to try to get his cover skills up as quickly as we can, but he brings a solid size to the safety position as well as some hit power. So he'll get the start there, and Michael Thomas, Jordan Richards, and Curtis Riley will all be fighting to make the final roster, same as Larry Fountain as well. So that's kind of where we sit right now, and not much other changes we can make unless we do trades, which I don't think we need to do at this point. I think we have most of all the California guys except for a couple here and there that are most likely starters for some other teams. So next episode, we'll sim through the preseason, make the final roster adjustments, take a look at the next draft class, and get through week 1 through 4. And hopefully with the changes that we've made, and after we thin out the roster, we'll see our overall go up a little bit more as well. So hopefully this season 3, some more improvement. Again, we're trying to win a Super Bowl with a team only from California. So it's definitely a challenge, and I hope you guys are enjoying. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.